I'm Robin Arnott. I'm a sound designer, first-time game designer now. I made Deep Sea, which is the game that requires the player to wear a gas mask here. I started doing film work. I went to NYU Film School to train as a sound designer for film and realized that my favorite stuff being done in the arts was being done in games, not film. So kind of migrated over here to Austin to focus on sound for games. I still do some sound for film, but really focusing on sound for games right now. Deep Sea is an experiment of mine in trying to create as immersive an experience as possible. Because that's something we're always trying to do as sound designers, is really create immersion and trying to make the player feel transported to another environment, make them care, make them emote. And so this was just a personal experiment to see how far I could take some of that. The decision to blind the player started out as a choice of expedience because I didn't want to make art because I'm a sound guy, so I figured if I want to make a really good game, it's going to have to be sound only. It's a claustrophobic experience. It is not designed to be a comfortable experience. It's got a lot of frustration built into the design. And I'm often asked to make the game easier, but I don't want to. It's meant to be a difficult, frustrating, scary experience. I was really surprised by the enormous potential that had in transporting the player and making the player feel authentic anxiety, not just kind of, oh, this is a little nerve-wracking, but real. I saw somebody rip off the mask and I realized, oh, I think I'm onto something here. Almost all the sound that's in the game is recorded by me. For instance, the bubbles and a lot of the underwater effects. I put a contact microphone in a condom, dunked it underwater, sank myself under there with various toys, playing with chains, playing with various things. I took a bass guitar underwater with me and broke it. Really a mix of adding layers of interactivity and then nixing a lot of those, and then adding layers of sound and building the complexity with sound design, exploring different techniques for creating an underwater space, researching what underwater spaces sound like. We take for granted that underwater spaces have this kind of muffled sound, which they don't. They don't. You know, we know that from BioShock, we know that from every movie that has an underwater scene, but that's not what underwater sounds like. The water transmits sound waves very quickly, so you get these harsh, high frequencies, but anything going between the surface and underwater is muffled, which is why we have this impression. So I was doing a lot of things to try to create a soundscape that could take advantage of the full sound spectrum without sounding so realistic that it didn't sound realistic, because we're so used to things sounding muffled. And so that was a big challenge in the project, is finding a balance between realistic sound design, because realistically underwater you can't tell where anything's coming from. It's just you hear a tap, it could be from anywhere because of the way the sound travels. But that doesn't matter, and there would be no game if you couldn't hear where things are. So a big challenge in the sound design was finding a balance between realism and player expectation for what an underwater space should sound like. My favorite part of the game is the breathing mechanism. Is the way that there are these two little microphones in the mouthpiece of the gas mask that track if the player's breathing in or out. So the computer knows if you're breathing out to play these bubbles, and if you're breathing in to play. And people sometimes don't notice that because we take our breathing for granted. I feel like that, more than anything else, really helps kind of tie the player identity with the game character identity, because you're breathing and you feel yourself, your own breathing, a part of your being that you take for granted, that you don't think about, and you hear that and feel that reflected in the sound space, and you feel like you're there.